I know. What did you think about the next one, the plane and the planet?
To
It
be
was
honest,
a very
it was a
short
very
chapter.
short chapter. What?
Yeah, it was again a very short chapter, and like I actually liked his thoughts about those small fragments of meteorites which he could find on the mountain plateau.
I don't remember this chapter, to be honest, quite well.
So they landed on a plateau in the desert, and they like he had a messenger with him, and they landed on this plateau and they looked for a way down and there was no way down, so they knew they had to fly again away. They had to fly away again. But then he actually marveled at like the beauty of this moment where he was the first human to ever set foot there. I think he even says like that neither human nor beast, so any animal, has set foot on this land for hundreds of thousands of years before he did it. And then he finds small meteorites. Or at least he's certain that it's meteorites because it's not the same stone, and they're laying there, and he compares it to an apple tree. I think he says that like under an apple tree you will only be able to find apples, and something which is only under the stars you will only be able to find stars, like not in like the perfectly literal sense, but like something which came down from the skies.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't know. This chapter was very descriptive for me, so I was kind of lost in the story. Because I'm of a reader that I feel the storyline, and usually when someone pauses, the author pauses, and becomes very descriptive, I get bored. Yeah, and I like big punchy things and like the appreciation of the small moment. I think that's very difficult to appreciate as a reader. Or there are people who like it. Like personally, I don't, but yeah, there's power in it.
Yeah. No. And the next one, Oasis, like I have to say, I don't know, I really.
Yeah.
It's not.
Same here.
I say it's really bad, but it's just not for me. Like
I can rationally appreciate the chapter, but it did not touch me.
Like Oasis is meant in a like figurative sense here. He talks about a home where he was like to which he was invited and his experience there, which I don't know. I would guess that's not like there he's not super true to the facts. It all seems a bit odd.
There was very feminist part towards the end, or at the complete end, because he enters a house, if I'm right, in Argentina or somewhere in South America.
Yeah.
And he meets two girls there who are presumably.
I guess it should be Chile because he talks about like the southernmost town in the world.
Yeah.
But
and in the house, there are two girls of an age that we do not know, presumably around the age of 15, let's say 16. And he appreciates their knowledge of the environment, of that they have animals, that they take care of animals. And they sort of have this unrestrained heart and motivation and creativity and the feeling for the world, if I can translate it in this way. And if you look back into 1920s, 1930s, the situation of women was much worse than it is now. And it's always so funny when two guys are discussing feminism. But he basically says that these two girls, with their hearts full of creativity and compassion and the openness to the world, will be destroyed, if I'm able to paraphrase it in this way, by a man that will marry them, or two men that will marry
is it really that extreme?
He says, the guy who will marry them, he receives a heart which is a wild garden. He who loves only trim parklands. So,
Okay, yeah.
so a person that takes care of parklands will suddenly have to nurture and love someone with a wild garden. Something so contrasting and unfitting. Someone already destroyed by modernization, parklands, will be suddenly have to take care of someone with a wild garden in their heart. And the fool takes the
That
princess
wild
away.
garden to parkland then.
What did you say?
And will probably transform that wild garden.
Exactly. And that's the last sentence of the chapter, which goes, and the fool takes the princess away into slavery.
Yeah.
So it has, sad ending. And what he's trying to say that, not only that humans are back then and even right now sort of corrupted and enslaved by the structures around us, because in the earlier chapter he criticizes parliaments and governments and people like that, but women are even worse because they are over even worse situation, because not only do they lose their creativity, but they become slaves to men, so
Yeah.
it was something I did not anticipate in that chapter at all. It was just towards the end, like a punchline, and that's exactly it. It's the last sentence. When you think about the sort of
but
classical,
the endings of his chapters are quite powerful.
Yeah, when you think about classical or the more normal storylines, they're usually like introduction, then the climax, and then down. But his chapters are like up and down, and then it ends and like goes like way up, and then you as a reader, it's quite uncomfortable to end the story on this like punchline and this big thought, because you need to go down, as an airplane, you need to sort of land and then need to be guided by the author to sort of.
But that never really happens.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to say. That never really happens, and it makes you feel uneasy. That's like as if you turn on the movie when the climax is happening. It's not what we are used to, but I think that's exactly his intention. He's saying things that should make us uneasy, and then a girl is taken into slavery. That should not make you feel comfortable when you are reading at 10 p.m. in your bed. That should really make you stand up and do something about the world.
Yeah, but did you have this feeling when reading this chapter? Because what he usually does is he writes about his own experiences or about the experiences of his comrades, and then gives his opinions and weaves it into his worldview and stuff like that. But while reading this chapter, it's had something more. I know it didn't seem like a real story to me, like something that actually happened. Do you know what I mean? It didn't have any supernatural elements, like maybe the snakes living in the house where
the vipers. Really, yeah.
But it didn't feel like the rest of the book to me.
I don't know. I'm very careful to make one coherent judgment of all those stories together.
It stuck out to me, for some reason.
That's difficult to answer, because it did stack out, because it wasn't a story about bravery. It was a story about entering. It was a story about living in a house and appreciating the environment and just calm. It was very calm.
Yeah.
And it had this terrible ending,
Yeah. But did you have the feeling it was factual?
And this is I think with all those stories, it doesn't matter whether they happen or not.
But did you have the feeling it was factual? I don't know, for some reason I really wondered, because the rest of the book he was like telling us about stuff he actually experienced. And with that thing, like it seems to me more like he added something for like the narrative purposes, you know?
Yeah. I would go as far as to say that most of these stories are edited. Like there's parts that are edit to it. You know what I'm trying to say? I think it happened to some extent, either to him or to someone else.
And I don't know to which extent they're actually edited. Like for some of them, only he himself or like his navigators, because he was like, I think, never alone in the plains, could have known like if the stories were true or not.